morning, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Commerce and Labor, 81st session. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Hardy. Here. Senator Lang. Here. Senator Neal. Here. Senator Pickard.
Here.
Senator Scheibel. Senator Settlemyre. Here. Chair Spearman.
Here. So we only have one bill today, and so I don't think we need to go through the other things. If you want to comment, we don't take testimony again during work session, but we will do clarifications. So with that, Mr. Melgarejo, will you please go through the work session document for Assembly Bill 61?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Cesar Melgarejo, Committee Policy Analyst. Assembly Bill 61 revises provisions relating to trade practices. It was sponsored by Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor on behalf of the Attorney General, and it was heard yesterday. Assembly Bill 61 makes various changes relating to deceptive trade practices. Among other things, the measure provides that certain offenses relating to robocalling are a deceptive trade practice and increases the penalties of such offenses from a misdemeanor to a Category C felony and a civil penalty of not more than $10,000 for each violation. Makes it a deceptive trade practice to sell, rent, or offer to sell or rent certain goods and services during a state of emergency or declared disaster that has been in effect for 75 days or less for a period that is grossly in excess of the usual prices for that good or service. Makes it an unfair trade practice to engage in any act or practice that makes advantage of a consumer to a grossly unfair degree, revises the criminal penalties imposed for engaging in deceptive trade practice, and establishes a tier of penalties based on the value of property or service, and provides that there is no limitation on the time in which a civil action or criminal prosecution involving a deceptive trade practice is required to be commenced by the Attorney General. The measure also authorizes Consumers Advocate of the Bureau of Consumer Protection in the Office of the Attorney General to have access to all records in the possession of any agency, board, or commission in this state that he or she determines are necessary to exercise his or her powers relating to consumer protections. And Senator Neal proposes a conceptual amendment to make all civil actions under Section 3 limited to the 4-year statute of limitations. And Madam Chair, that's all the amendments.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Senator Hardy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My concerns, I guess, as every bit as much as questions, is how do we enforce it? How do we selectively enforce it? How do we hire enough people to enforce it? What are the replacement costs for goods? How do we I think some of this is going to stifle some free will giving that shops open and share. The cost of the goods that changes with the economy shift, the risk of loss of a storefront, the literal risk of the loss of a storefront, the risk of life lost with infection when people have to work, and the length of the time that will shift the local economy significantly so that we don't have a static system. So I think all of those for me are a problem that I will not be voting for this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hardy. Was that a question or just a comment? Senator Hardy? Question or comment?
The question is, how in the world can we do this bill and make it work with all of those comments?
I want to give Mr. Kruger an opportunity to respond.
I'm Mark Kruger for the record. Senator Hardy, appreciate all your comments, and we think that from the Bureau of Consumer Protection standpoint, that we did a great job attempting to handle complaints that came in during the initial phase of the pandemic that were related to price gouging. Most of your comments related to price gouging, and we are ready, willing, and able to do our best again in another emergency situation. Hopefully it won't be a statewide emergency, but will be limited to a geographic area, and the impacts will be limited in duration and time.
Senator Settlemyre.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just kind of curious to you, since you brought up the point, how many prosecutions occurred then last time due to price gouging? And with this bill, how many do you think you'll be able to prosecute, more or less?
Mark Kruger for the record, Senator Settlemyre. The Unfortunately, because we didn't have a price gouging prohibition in the law, it was difficult to do any price gouging prosecution, right? So there weren't essentially any. Had we been able to, there were a number of complaints that were clearly price gouging violations. There were some complaints that weren't, and the companies worked with us to justify that they were a normal supply chain increase or cost increase that wouldn't be affected and would be in the carve outs. So it's difficult to look back on something when you didn't have the law to be able to do it. But we're confident that we will be able to protect consumers utilizing this law if you pass this bill.
Thank you.
Additional questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Pickard?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I shared some of the concerns that have been expressed. I also submitted a suggestion for an amendment to clear up the issue as to a retailer being able to recoup future costs of replenishment that we discussed in the hearing. That wasn't adopted. I think that's going to be a major issue for retailers. So I'll be a no with right to reserve, but I'm uncomfortable with the bill as it stands. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Well, thank you all for your comments. And one of the things that I needed to do yesterday was I needed to look at this through the lens of the questions and the concerns that committee members have. Mr. King, you had a statement, I think, that really clarified, but I'm not sure we spent a lot of time on it at the end, some of the concerns. And I wonder if you can say that again so we can all hear it. And if I understood it, then that will punctuate my understanding. If I didn't, it will clarify my understanding. So can you speak to that, please?
Thank you, Chair Spearman. For the record, Will Keene, Committee Counsel. With regard to the price gouging, with the idea, the overall theory in Section 3 with regard to the price gouging is that it's a bit hard to enumerate all the situations where it might occur. And so in Section 3, subsection 2, the description of the conduct that's not supposed to occur is a bit open-ended. And obviously the courts will look at that and over time create a pool of cases that attorneys can look at and be able to advise their clients as to what is going to be a price gouging problem and what is not. In the meantime, subsection 3 provides safe harbors for merchants so that they can look at section 3 and say, well, without regard to what section 2 says or doesn't say or the case law out there, if I fall under one of the safe harbors in subsection 3, either A, B, C, D, or E, then I am safe and I will not be able to be prosecuted. And that is the way it operates now as written. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I'll entertain a motion.
Amend do pass.
I have a motion from Senator Lang, amend to pass. Do I have a second? A second from Senator Scheibel. Further discussion? Okay. Madam Secretary, please call the roll for the vote.
Senator Hardy? No. Senator Lang? Yes. Senator Neal?
Yes.
Senator Pickard?
No.
Senator Scheibel?
Yes.
Senator Settlemyre? No. Chair Spearman?
Yes? And the motion does pass. Let's see, who wants to take that? Senator Neal, you take the floor statement? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you all. Broadcast, we're ready now for public comment. Do you have anyone on the line?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Your public line is open and working, and you have no callers at this time.
I thought we'd have at least one. Okay. Let's give it a couple of seconds, okay, and let's see if anybody was, if they were having problems, I'd make sure that they can get through, okay?
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Still no one?
Chair, you currently have no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you. And so with that, we will close public comment. And committee members, we may have another bill that we have to hear tomorrow morning. If you are not going to be here, please let the committee manager know so we can make sure you get a link so that you can participate virtually. I know, yeah. Yeah, tomorrow's Saturday, and I checked the calendar, and I think that does come after Friday. So yeah, tomorrow morning. So if you're not going to be here tomorrow morning, just let us know so we can get the link to you and you can participate. We're looking at probably around 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, okay? On Saturday. On Saturday. Saturday. Yeah, I know. We're just a few days before the end of the session, and I was alerted that there is another bill coming our way, so we have to make sure that we get that done. So any other questions about Saturday? Okay, no questions about Saturday? Okay. All right then. Thank you. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Mr. Kruger. Thank you, Mr. Keene. And thank you, Senator Pickard. We are now adjourned.